Hello, and welcome to this online edition of the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery's Women's History Presentations. My name is Morgan Wilson, and I am a collections assistant at the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery. Today, I will be telling you about Elizabeth Libbie Coy Lawrence. Elizabeth Libbie Coy Lawrence was the first woman to graduate from a higher education institute in the state of Colorado, and she graduated right here in Fort Collins. She attended Colorado Agricultural College, which would later become the Colorado State University that we are more familiar with. Elizabeth Coy Lawrence was born in 1865, just 1 year after Fort Collins was officially founded. Her parents were John G. Coy and Emily Adams Coy, shown here on the left. Her parents came to Colorado by ox cart in 1862. They had originally planned on traveling all the way to California, but after passing through, decided to stay in Colorado instead to homestead. They were the first permanent residents of Fort Collins. Of their 10 children, only 6 survived, with Elizabeth being the eldest daughter. John would also help found the Colorado Agricultural College, which his daughter would later attend. The Coy family is represented in our collection in several ways. The potato masher, seen on the left, was carved by John G. Coy and is currently on display in the beach shack on the gallery floor. The image on the right is the Coy Hoffman barn, which the family lived in. It was located on LeMay Avenue. In addition, the beautiful walnut pipe organ that is currently on display in the music zone of our gallery floor belonged to Mrs. Emily Coy. It was brought to Fort Collins with them by ox cart. As her parents were the first permanent residents of Fort Collins, Elizabeth was one of the early residents of the town. Here is a drawing of what the town would have looked like in 1865, the year she was born. As you can see, it was much smaller and different than it is today. Elizabeth said that she remembered the old grout store, located on Linden and Jefferson Streets. She also remembered that, at that time, all the stores were general stores, which is a big change from what we see in Fort Collins today. Elizabeth graduated in 1884 with a first class from the Colorado Agricultural College. The college was opened in 1879, and the first group of students helped to complete repairs on it so that it could remain open. Elizabeth was the only woman in that first graduating class of 3. With her graduation, she became the first woman to graduate from a higher education institute in the entire state of Colorado. The other members of her graduating class were George Glover and Leonidas Loomis. She and her fellow graduates also helped form the Alumni Association for the Colorado Agricultural College. Pictured below is the old main building, which was the only academic building on campus at the time she attended. George Glover, another member of the graduating class, recalled feeling intimidated by Elizabeth Coy because she looked so much more sophisticated than him when he began at the college. Glover would later become important to re-establishing veterinary medicine at the university. After graduation, Elizabeth went on to teach preparatory courses at the Colorado Agricultural College from the years 1884 to 1890. Again, pictured below is the old main building from the Colorado Agricultural College. It was built in 1878 and would burn down in 1970. Elizabeth stopped teaching preparatory classes after her marriage to James W. Lawrence, a mechanical engineering professor at the Colorado Agricultural College. He is shown here on the left. Here is an image of Elizabeth's wedding dress, which we have in our collection. Elizabeth is also represented in our collections with this stitched motto. It was hand-embroidered by Elizabeth and reminds everyone to eat, drink, and be merry. Elizabeth and her husband had a son named George Coy Lawrence, shown here on the right. On the left is Elizabeth, James, George, and other family members. Elizabeth and her husband lived in this house on Myrtle Street. After her marriage, Elizabeth continued to play an active part in her community. Elizabeth was a member of the Pioneer Women's Society, a historian of the Fort Collins Women's Club, and also served 14 terms as president of the Fort Collins Pioneer Society. The picture below shows the Pioneer Women's Society in the year 1910. If you look closely, Elizabeth is fifth from the left in the back row. Here are the Pioneer women again. This time, they are gathered to celebrate Grandma Welch's 93rd birthday in the year 1908. Elizabeth served 14 terms as president of the Fort Collins Pioneer Society. Their mission was, quote, to keep alive the traditions and experiences of the early settlers of the Cache-la-Poudre Valley, end quote. Shown below is the CSU's Founders Monument, which was erected in 1916 by the Fort Collins Pioneer Society. Again with her community involvement, Elizabeth served as a historian for the Fort Collins Women's Club, and also as president of the auxiliary of St. Luke's Episcopal Church, which is shown here on the right. Elizabeth Coy Lawrence died in September of 1944 at the age of 78. The newspaper described her as one of the, quote, most eminent pioneer residents, end quote. She died during her 14th term as president of the Larimer County Pioneer Society due to a heart ailment. The image below shows the newspaper in 1944. Elizabeth has a lasting legacy in Fort Collins as well as in the state of Colorado. Elizabeth was the first woman to graduate from a higher education institute in Colorado and was a member of the first graduating class from the Colorado Agricultural College, which would later become Colorado State University. She would inspire women who would want to pursue higher education and continue to play an active part in her community even when she stopped teaching. If you find yourself on the Colorado State University campus, you should look out for a road called Libbie Coy Way. It is located in part near the Oval.